Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It is not the most beautiful day in New York, but at least it's just cloudy and not raining because today we are walking around Tribeca to see some of the first exhibits open for the fall and winter season. We're starting off with a bang at Shainman Gallery, one of my favorite Tribeca spaces. It's over 20,000 square feet and located in the historic Clock Tower building. It was originally a bank, and they've left some hints of that, which I will encourage you all to look out for. There may be a bank vault. This is an exhibit featuring new and recent works by Hank Willis Thomas, an American artist whose work confronts issues of identity, history, and power, often drawing from advertising, popular culture, and archival images to examine how race and politics shape representation. The show is titled I Am Many, and it features works across many different types of mediums that explore how the quote, past and present remain interwoven and interconnected, as well as the legacies of exploitation and oppression in conjunction with new forms of community and solidarity. The title of the show comes from a work which references photographs from the 1968 Memphis sanitation strike, where Black men assembled with posters all bearing the same message that said, I am a man. So he takes this message and then he expands on it in various iterations, which we can see throughout the show. A great example of where he's done this type of wordplay in the past is during the peak of the Black Lives Matter movement. Willis played on the phrase all lives matter, transforming it into a visually similar phrase, all lies matter, which was meant to speak to the hypocrisy of the concept of stating all lives matter, especially when in response to the phrase Black Lives Matter. Because if you really felt that all lives matter, then you would believe that Black lives matter as well, and you wouldn't feel this need to retort. This is just one of many examples of how Thomas's work explores the quote, enduring power conveyed by the written word. Another key pillar of Thomas's practice is sculpture. So we see a few varieties of sculpture in this show, especially in terms of public engagement. You may have seen his work Unity, which is a 22.5-foot tall bronze sculpture at the intersection of Tulare Street and Adams Street in downtown Brooklyn. I know I always love seeing it when I'm on the way home to cross Brooklyn Bridge. Another key and symbolic material that Thomas has incorporated into his practice is the use of retroreflective material printed with archival or found photographs. And these are often called his flash works because the flash works are made with this retroreflective material. Their full images only appear when hit with a camera flash or a directed light. They were first developed in the mid-2010s, and the series often uses archival photographs of protests and civil rights movements that remain partially hidden until the viewers actively illuminate them. So by requiring this interaction, Thomas underscores how histories of race, identity, and resistance are frequently obscured, needing effort to be seen. The work transforms spectators, us, into participants, turning the act of looking into a metaphor for uncovering suppressed narratives. I just love how every single work of Thomas's is created with materials that are symbolic and that are assembled with intention. So, for example, these mixed media works that we see here are created from decommissioned US prison uniforms. Jack Shainman himself has a great statement in the press release that I want to repeat here about Hank Willis Thomas. He says the quote, "Few artists are able to interpret history in ways that provide new strategies for understanding the present. Hank Willis Thomas has done this consistently through his career with successive bodies of work that blend technical sophistication with metaphoric depth." Exhibiting Hank's work in our Tribeca gallery, itself embodying a beautiful but complicated period in American history, promises to be a fitting example of what we envision for the space, one where the past can be reanimated by contemporary visions and new material sensibilities. And to close out, we have this sculpture, which is an iteration of Thomas's famous public sculpture called Raise Up, which features a series of these bronze figures shown from the shoulders up, emerging from this solid base with their arms raised above their heads. It was inspired by a 1960s photograph taken by the Sharpeville massacre in apartheid South Africa, where Black men were forced to line up and strip during a police search. So while rooted in that specific history, the image also resonates powerfully with contemporary US struggles around race, state violence, and protest. Particularly, what comes to mind is the hands up, don't shoot gesture linked to the Ferguson protests after the killing of Michael Brown in 2014. And we're now going to head just around the corner to Stephen Friedman Gallery. Stephen Friedman is a gallery that started originally in Mayfair, London in 1995. And in 2023, they opened this space in Tribeca, which used to be the home of Postmaster's Gallery. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you may remember that space. This is an exhibit of works by the Brooklyn-based Brazilian artist Ana Cláudia Almeida, and it is her first show with the gallery. Almeida is what I would call a gestural painter or a process-based artist who, through her work, emphasizes the physicality of mark making and the act of making the work as greater than any symbolism of the work itself. She overall explores the way an artist can use different materials to create works and the fluidity between different forms like sculpture, painting, and installation. She describes her work as a, quote, ecosystem of pieces featuring the likes of drawing, oil painting, sculpture, and even plastic. Our next stop is down the famous Cortlandt Alley, which may look familiar to many of you because it is featured in a ton of films and music videos, because this is actually one of the few places you're allowed to film in New York. And I understand why. It definitely has that old school New York grungy feel to it. This is Andrew Kreps' gallery, and this is a show by Hadi Falapishi, who I always love seeing exhibits from because he has such a strong, distinct, playful visual language. So while at first his works appear to be just this playful, cheerful, almost childlike thing, they're actually attempts to, quote, reflect and record our increasingly turbulent world. Many of them are focused on deeply personal themes like the domestic, family, love, and loss. And this makes sense because he just became a dad, so you can see that as a very present influence in his works. The show also features two kinds of contrasting works, a new series of works called American Dream, and an ongoing series titled Professional Painter. So his American Dream works can be identified by these childlike figures on painted and collaged cardboard. They're usually the larger scale works, and they're meant to highlight how joy and tragedy can often live in the same space. His Professional Painter series can be identified through these more surrealist, realistic photos that are actually meant to be a self-portrait of the artist. The term, quote, professional in the works is used ironically as a reference to painting only being considered professional if it's executed perfectly and realistically. So together, these two very different bodies of work provide, I think, a nice conversation about what it means to be a professional artist and to create, quote, professional art. The downstairs gallery space features 2 sculptures and another work from the American Dream series that I absolutely love. They're giving very Mike Kelly vibes, but in general, it's a great continuation of Hadi's use of domestic imagery and objects to depict our current state as a society. And I'm guessing that maybe here he's trying to say that in these times of uncertainty and unrest, that we can search for more childlike comforts more than ever as a way of trying to find stability. That's one interpretation. Let me know yours. Our next stop is just around the corner again to Charles Moffett Gallery. This is a show called Book of Hours, a solo exhibit of new paintings by the LA-based artist Lily Stockman. You probably already sensed it when we walked in, a very different feeling that this show encompasses. So Stockman's visual language is much more simple, almost reminiscent of the color-filled painters like Mark Rothko and Kenneth Noland. However, in this series, she's introduced a new element to her usuals of color, form, light, and space. She is introducing time for the first time. Inspired by medieval devotional manuscripts, especially the luminous black hours at the Morgan Library, Stockman transforms this gallery into a kind of contemporary timekeeping device. My personal favorite part of the show is how they've organized the exhibit. So they've hung a single canvas on each wall. This really invites us as the viewers to move through the space with the same steady cadence that those early texts once lent to daily life. In an age where time feels like the rarest resource, easily fractured by endless distractions, Stockman's paintings feel almost like a portal asking us to inhabit the present, to notice how color, form, and space measure experience. Our next and final stop of the day is Silke Lindner to see a small but powerful exhibit of new works by Emma Kohlmann that are inspired by Monica Schu's The Great Cosmic Mother from 1987, exploring pre-patriarchal, earth-based spirituality and the divine feminine. As you can see, her unique visual language draws from ancient iconographies, cave markings, global folk traditions, mythologies, and the, quote, unfiltered rawness of contemporary DIY aesthetics. I think in general, that's a great theme of all of the exhibits that we've seen today. Each artist is very different, and each artist has a strong design language of their own. And I think that is no coincidence, because I think to really kind of, quote, make it or resonate with people as a contemporary artist, this is one of the most critical things to perfect. What's your artistic language, and what makes it recognizable and distinct to you? And of course, why should we care? I hope you all enjoyed this video. This will be part 1 because there are more shows in Tribeca opening later in the month that I want to share with you all. So stay tuned for part 2, and I will see you all in my next video.